A lot of people watched it, but nobody's watching day to day, all day, unless you're me and just love this stuff. Procedures are okay, but we want to know, where do you stand? And so I think the more that politicians stop trying to be politicians and be people, then that will engage voters.
We reject alternative facts, so come on in here and let me educate you on the facts. Hello, my people. How are you? It's been a while, right? It has been a while, but thank you and welcome to the Daily Political Briefing. So much has happened. As you can see, I got decor back here. We're in the studio right now. Excuse me. And I'm just kind of happy to be back. I will say that there have been lots and lots of changes, and there are probably a lot of changes that are going to come that I will let you know about. But let's just jump right into the show. Let's really talk about it, because we're only really here to talk about one theme today. And it's a topic that continuously comes up. I think it will always, probably always come up. It just depends on, like where we are. But we got word that the Supreme Court is going to take up a case from the state of Mississippi that is regarding abortion. Now, you all know, and if you don't know, abortion is a hot button topic because you have people on the right, you have people on the left that are highly opinionated about this subject. Hey, Miss Shamika. Hey, Sierra Radcliffe. Oh, happy birthday. Happy birthday, Shamika. But very, I should say very passionate about this subject. And so it is easy to, especially when we're talking about abortion, it is easy to pick a stance that's in our ecosystem or pick a stance that's in our conversation and stay there. And then it's also easy for a lot of people to stay quiet. And I'm really going to talk about the people that stay quiet are like Democratic voters that are actually not for abortion. And then Republican voters that are not for eliminating abortion in ways that the Republican Party talks about at large, but really tailoring it down. And so as far as like, what are we talking about? Are we talking about people who or women who decide that they just don't want the pregnancy and would choose to terminate it? Are we talking about medical procedures where the mom nor the baby will survive, and so you excavate the baby, which is technically an abortion? Like, what is it that we're talking about? And so right now, everybody's kind of up in arms because we know that the Supreme Court now has basically a super right-wing, super Republican majority, with Amy Coney Barrett being the last justice on the court. It gives the 6-3 conservative court. And so a lot of the conservative justices, the whole conservative movement, are big on ending abortion rights for people. And so I think that the conversation is just so layered. Honestly, I think that the conversation is just so layered, and the way that we've been talking about it for so long is it provokes an emotional response. And yes, I would probably lean on the fact that, Republicans use this talking point because they've always had like this religious right, which is not a thing. Well, people have made it a thing, but like if you're talking about a Christian right, I don't know what a Christian right is, because if we're gonna follow Christ, follow Christ. He ain't right or left. He's perfect, but it provokes an emotional response, right? When we talk about abortion, especially from the right. And then because it's save the baby, save the baby, save the babies. And I'm not trying to diminish that, because I believe that all life is precious. I believe, we should save all of the babies. We should. And in that, when we save the babies during the pregnancy, make sure you save them when they're here on this earth. Make sure you put policies and procedures in there so that they can thrive in their communities, not be discriminated against, not be shot down by police as well. Save the babies, then save them as a child, save them as an adult, save them when they're older, make sure everybody got health care, all those things as well. And so that's what I mean by that, how it gets so emotionally charged. And like, especially you have so many Democrats, you have a lot of Democrats. It's crazy. I talked to some Democrats who won't say anything because they stand on, hey, I don't agree with abortion, but I also don't agree with regulating somebody else's body. And so they stand in this contentious space. And I get it. I totally get that. I think we need to talk about it more. But what I won't do in my and let me say this as far as like saving the babies, that on the other end of that, like it's kind of hypocritical to me if you're like superly advocating to restrict abortion, but you then openly advocate for the death penalty. I don't really know how you square those two things up, especially if the idea is preserving life, right? If the idea is preserving the sanctity of life and thinking that all life is precious, how do you then say, well, you should kill people over here, but a mother terminating her pregnancy? No, we're not going to do that. I don't know. I don't get that part. That doesn't line up for me. But I say all that to say, it's going to be definitely tricky. It's tricky in the sense that we are already so politically charged. We are still very politically charged from Donald Trump, from January 6th insurrection, all of that, from QAnon, people being up in the Congress, from people trying to overturn an election. We're definitely charged. And this case is set to go before the Supreme Court later this fall. Now, when they come into their next session. So that basically means that we'll probably get a ruling from them the following year. If they, hear about it in the fall, they might get it the following year, which is 2022. Now, what's also in 2022? The midterms. So, it's just, I just see it being, oh gosh, I just see it being such a divisive topic when it really shouldn't be. I just see it being so divisive and so pulling when it really, really shouldn't be. And I would say to those, this is me. Now, y'all can feel how you want to, here we encourage dissent and not disrespect. So we can agree, we can disagree, all those things. But I would just say I would say that one, we need to define what we're talking about when we're talking about eliminating abortion. That's one. Because like I said earlier, there are different things. There are people who choose to not carry on with a pregnancy. And then there are people who need a medical procedure because the baby, the egg is it's not viable and it's dangerous for the mother, or potentially, the baby won't survive because of wherever, the baby is. So what are we talking? That's still an abortion if you have to then terminate that. So we need to talk about what are we talking about, instead of just saying no. And instead of it not really being about the sanctity of life and more about either controlling women's bodies or just using this talking point because it invokes an emotional response. And that by invoking, I'm talking about our political leaders, by invoking an emotional response, it will get your base riled up. Your base riled up then means your base is more likely to turn out to vote for you. Like, I'm not interested in that. And I think we did, and I did a lot of that with the Donald Trump era. I'm not interested in that. So what is it that we're talking about here? What is it that we're talking about? And then if you do get to a space, because the court is a 6-3 with the Republicans there, and they're well within their right to decide how they want to decide, right? Because they are on the Supreme Court. If they do then overturn Roe v. Wade and abortion is restricted in mass capacities, do you then, those same ones who have the power to do this, do you then enact laws to take care of these children? Do you? And I'm not, and hear me clear, I never want anybody to think that I'm saying that because they don't make laws now that I am in agreement, to the abortion or whatever. What I'm saying is, if you're going to have all that energy, all that smoke, all that legislative power to then restrict that, then also have that same energy and that smoke and that legislative power to ensure that once the child is born, the child can be taken care of, to ensure that they get a quality education, to ensure that they get a decent head start in life, as opposed to nope. They just got to get born. And then at that point, it is what it is. That makes no sense to me. That makes absolutely no sense to me, because then that shows me that it's not about the dignity and the respect of the life, that it's a political talking point. And I'm not interested in those things. But I wanted to have this conversation. I wanted to at least open up because I've talked to other Democrats that are not abortion activists, that are not gun-ho about it. Somebody said expand the court. That too. I mean, there are other things that's coming up that, we could probably say this court ain't gonna rule on, like voting rights. All that kind of ties into it as well. How can you say you want dignity and respect for the unborn, but then you don't ensure once the unborn is born, they got voting rights to ensure that they have an equal say in the democracy that they pay into via taxes? Like, again, what are we talking about? What are we having a conversation about right now? So, yeah, we'll see. This will be an ongoing thing. Definitely expecting a ruling probably 2022. We'll find out that they're going to take it up again for those that are hopping on the stream late. First, well, not late, but now. Thank y'all for coming. Hey, how you doing? They're going to the Supreme Court will take up this case in the fall. And then from there, they'll deliberate and they'll debate. And so we'll just have to see what happens. So, yeah, I agree, Cameron. I agree. It is all political talking points. It's not really about, I wish it was about the dignity and sanctity of life. But again, you got to run that through the gambit. You got to run that through the spectrum. You can't just be there. But it is definitely to elicit an emotional charge from voters. One would say manipulate their voters. And not to say Dems don't manipulate theirs, but one would say to clearly manipulate their voters into an emotional response so that they would come out and vote for them. And that's just, I'm not here for any of that. Any of it. So anyway, guys, guess what? It's the end of the show. That's what it is. We're going to do these really quick. So much is happening, guys. The brand is expanding. Y'all know I got employees. So much is going on. We're giving speeches now, which is crazy. I'm doing a workshop with some kids out in San Francisco via the Zoom because, the COVID is still real and all that. But things are really, really expanding. And with that expansion, that means that I have to readjust and I have to, change up the mode. And so we might not be able to do a live show every night. Because so many other things are happening. So we'll see. And if we do a live show, they'll have to be very short, quick, to the point, cute, in and out, But yeah, I'm super excited about the things that are coming. Let's read some comments. I'm not for abortions personally. I don't believe the government can or should get involved. Okay. I feel it is a spiritual battle for the church. Okay. I got you. Well, I mean, yes and no, right? There could be when you say you feel it's a spiritual battle for the church, yes, and then there could be some people who are not believers in Jesus who still feel the same way. They're like, no, I don't agree, or yes, I do agree. But yeah, I think that's where that juxtaposition is, right? Like you're not for abortions personally, but then do you feel like the government should be a part of it? Like that's a for some people, and that's where I really wanted to come and talk from that perspective. From some people, that's an uneasy position to sit in with it being so charged, in the way that we talk about this at large. So thank you for that. I appreciate that comment. Let's see, we got another one from the Vince Elliott. Outside of health challenges of rape, which is very tough, I think ultimately it comes down to how one views when it is human life. Absolutely. Something, can I say something to that? Because I've spoke on this several times. This is not the first time I've talked about abortion and where we are in this course. And I remember someone saying, and it's their right to say, I remember someone saying, well, you're a man, you don't need to talk about it. It's none of your business. And I remember my response to that is, well, like, what if I run for office one day and then I have the power to do something? Then does it become my business? So to your point, Vince, I think it ultimately comes down to how each individual person views it. Because technically, if you are a taxpayer, then you have a vote, you have a say. You do have a say in that. That doesn't mean you don't empathize and you don't speak out against injustice and you don't call a thing where you clearly see, okay, some of this ain't about the sanctity of life. This is because you want to control women's bodies and it's a political talking point. Right. And then some of it is on the other side of that. But yeah, everyone does have a say. And it definitely depends on how one views human life. I could say conception. Another could say birth. So yeah, I agree. Cameron says, no, we were given free will for a reason. That as well. that as well. Cameron, I would ask, let's have this conversation real quick. I would ask, and I agree with you. We have free will for a reason. The other side of the argument that I could hear to that is, yes, there's free will, but what do you say to a person who may get an abortion that is funded via tax dollars, right? If a person says, well, hey, I don't really want my tax dollars to go to that because I don't agree with that. It's free will for that person. But then what about that person utilizing those services? What would you say to that? And then even pressing on the other side, I can already hear the other argument, which would say, well, yeah, if someone is getting abortion on tax dollars, that's because they might be at a certain economic status. These things won't affect women who actually have money or families who have money to kind of float around and do this and that. And so I could really hear every single, I could hear every single opposition to the next point, right? But yeah. Vaughn, let me see. Vaughn Dunn. Thank you so much for this super sticker. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Susie Wallace said, don't believe we should be in people's bedrooms. Okay. Nicole said, I would personally never get one. But I'm about to tell anyone, I'm not about to tell anyone they can't get it. I don't have a heaven or hell to send anyone to, and everyone will have to answer for what they do on Judgment Day. Okay, that's her response. My girl Cameron, what you say? No, I don't agree with it, but we have seen the foster care system, and my thing is, will they step up there? Which is a question. And that's kind of what I was speaking to earlier about the foster care. Like the group that I'm speaking to right now, group of dope kids. They are 16 to 21. I guess I shouldn't say kids since some of them are 21, but they were either recently in foster care, aged out of foster care, or on probation right now. And so this nonprofit organization that I'm partnering with to do this 3-part workshop on policing and injustice services these children, right? And so you obviously, I'm seeing foster kids right now. And so I get what you're saying. Like the foster care system is overrun with children. There's not enough families for these kids and not enough good families for these kids. I would just say, do we then just say, though, will we still err on the side of, well, yeah, okay, cool, be with the abortion because look at the foster care system. Because there are some amazing people that come out of foster care, right? Amazing people, people that have changed the world and they were in foster care. So again, everybody's got an opinion and everybody's got a point of view on it. T Sipper, I'm not really religious, so I look at it that way. And as a man, I don't think I have a say in what women should do with their bodies. And as a whole, I don't think we should get to decide that. Okay. Ma'am Pearl says a woman's choice is just that. And she should be able to make her choice and to go to a safe place if she chooses that route. Okay. The Vince Elliott says my guess is that most people are not okay with killing a 2-month-old baby, but 3 to 11 months earlier is my body, my choice. Once that fetus is live, you are making a decision for 2. Tough decision. So everybody's got a point of view. As we can see, everyone clearly has a point of view on where they stand on the issue. So I would just say, as we continue to engage a politically hot topic, a very emotionally charged topic, a very sensitive topic, because we are talking about a woman making a choice for her body. At the end of the day, it is a choice for her body and what she chooses to do. And as we engage politics and the laws that are on the books, while still being in this super emotional, and I don't say emotional to diminish anybody. I mean emotional. I'm emotional from January 6th. I'm still spent. Okay, so this super emotional political time to remember that we can dissent, we can disagree, we don't have to disrespect each other, and that we all have a choice to go out there and advocate for the things that we believe in and for the things that we want to see and the laws that we want to see on the books. So that's all I got for today. Guys, hopefully we'll be back tomorrow. I don't know. I got to see how busy it gets. I got to see how busy I get tomorrow. Like things are really cooking and moving. And I'm just, thank you, Jesus. I'm just blessed to be in a position of growth and expansion. And so until next time, guys, you know what it is. I love you in the Lord. Dissent, not disrespect, people. Peace.
A lot of people watched it, but nobody's watching day to day, all day, unless you're me and just love this stuff. Procedures are okay, but we want to know, where do you stand? And so I think the more that politicians stop trying to be politicians and be people, then that will engage voters.
We reject alternative facts, so come on in here and let me educate you on the facts.